In this video, we're going to solve the formula v equals 1/3 pi r squared h for r, assuming that r is greater than 0. Please attempt this example on your own first, and then return to the video to check your work. The first step in solving the formula v equals 1/3 pi r squared h for r is to recognize that r is a variable that we are trying to solve for, and finding it in our formula. When we identify where the r is, we should recognize two things: that there is only one occurrence of the variable r, but it is being squared. So the first step in solving this formula for r is to isolate the r squared. To do this, we need to remove the 1/3, the pi, and the h from both sides of the equation. We could try to do this in one step, or we could choose to do it in two steps. In this video, I will do it as a two-step process. The first thing we could choose to cancel out would be the 1/3. Because 1/3 is multiplied by the r squared and everything else on the right side of the equation, we will multiply by the reciprocal, 3/1, or 3. Remembering to multiply both sides of the equation by 3, we end up with 3v equals pi r squared h. To continue isolating the r squared, we now need to remove the pi and the h. Recognizing that both pi and h are multiplied by r squared, to cancel them out, we need to divide both sides by pi h. In doing this, the pi and the h on the right side of the equation will cancel, and we will be left with the equation 3v over pi h equals r squared. Now that we have isolated the r squared, the final step is to remove the square. To do this, we use the square root property. If r squared equals 3v over pi h, then r is either equal to the positive square root or negative square root of 3v over pi h. So we end up with two separate equations: r equals the square root of 3v over pi h, or r equals the negative square root of 3v over pi h. Going back to the original directions we were given, we were told to assume that r is greater than 0. Knowing that r has to be greater than 0 tells us we don't need to consider the situation that r would equal the negative square root of 3v over pi h. Since that is basically guaranteed to be a negative number, a non-real number, or 0, we can exclude that possibility. So this leaves us with our only solution: r is equal to the square root of 3v over pi h.